So here we are, episode 2 of the podcast Downtime at DT, where I've come in and I just interview random people in the office. So we all get a chance to get to know each other a little bit better, without actually physically have to talk to each other, which I think is quite nice sometimes. Particularly when it comes to my next person that's going to be on the interview couch, Cranky Pants Rich Davy.
Thank you.
So
Cranky Pants Mikey Ford.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. So Cranky Pants Rich Davy, what is it that you actually do here at DT? What is your role?
I'm a Associate Experience Design Director, so AXDD.
So you've got buzzwords and acronyms. That's pretty impressive.
Yes, well, I think a lot of acronyms in DT.
Yeah. So for the layperson, what does an Associate Experience Design Director do? So what would be your sort of day-to-day roles and kind of what would you be doing within the office?
Day-to-day roles are quite varied. Primarily, I'm directing and managing the UX and visual design teams across several projects. So what I've been working on mostly is Tourism Australia and Newcastle Permanent and Teachers Mutual Bank. And so I'm also involved in a lot of new business work as well, and also working closely with you, Cranky Pants Mikey Ford.
So when you say sort of directing, do you mean like managing the resources, or is it more about giving guidance or...
Yeah, giving guidance, setting the direction.
Yep.
And ensuring that the direction is met, and encouraging the experienced designers to push themselves to create really amazing work, and not to lose perspective of who the client is and what the client is expecting, but also to raise that bar and create work that we can all be proud of and that's going to really blow socks off the client.
Yeah, nice. How did you get into this? Well, I guess you would have started in a design role to begin with, but so what was it that drove you and kind of brought you to where you are now?
I studied graphic design at university, at Newcastle University, and in my final year, which was 99, I discovered my passion for interactive, what we called web design back then. And my lecturers told me that I was insane and that the web was just a fad and not to pursue this direction.
Like hula hoops.
Like hula hoops, yes, and like yo-yos, but they're wrong. Yo-yos are still very cool. And I then left uni and I went and worked in a web startup in Sydney and worked there for a number of years, and then packed up my bags and moved to London with the ambition of being there for 2 years. I ended up being there 6 years, and during that time I ran my own business, mostly for 5 of those 6 years. And I was also merged my business with another studio and was put in charge of 10 designers. And then I sort of had not a nervous breakdown, but I sort of realised that I didn't really move to London just to work 24/7.
Which I think a lot of Australians who move to London have that realisation, because it's like a island sweatshop when you work in agencies in London. It's like
it is. It's kind of where you go to kind of prove to yourself that you've got what it takes to be among the best in the world, and also to learn as much as you can, because it's such an amazing opportunity to go and move to any country really, but specifically UK or USA, where specifically with interactive, they're really at the forefront of what's going on, and to sort of tap into that and to be really engaged with what's going on there, you can really bring that experience back here and sort of really give yourself a boost of steroids in your career coming back here.
So, do you remember any point where you just went, this is the thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Like, there was like some inspiration point or something you saw and you just like, I just want to do internet?
Yeah, it wasn't probably internet, it was more design.
Yeah.
And that really happened when I think I was like 16 years old, and it's my first work experience. I worked at Mojo Advertising.
Yep.
And I just didn't realize that there was such a job where you can literally go into an office and just think up of ideas, and you got paid to do it, and you also got to execute those ideas and just have really a great time. Like, it was just like being in art class, but I was getting paid to do it. I think I really just fell in love with the creative industry at that point, and I was pretty good at art at school, and when I didn't do too well in a lot of other classes or a lot of courses, I think it was just more about like how I was taught rather than my intelligence. but all
right.
But you know, one thing I did really well in was art, and I got into Art Express, and from getting into Art Express, I really saw that, hang on, this is something I'm really good at and I actually really enjoy, so I should get into doing graphic design. And I haven't really looked back. I've never sort of regretted going into graphic design. It's been my passion throughout my entire working career. And I feel like interactive is just a extension of that. It just feels like a modern evolution of what traditional graphic design was. It's just the modern way of communicating with people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that really kind of highlights a lot of my next question was going to be why you're passionate about that area, but you kind of went into a lot of that stuff where it's about, we've found this sort of modern form of communication, this modern form of expression that is not just a one way, I look at something on the wall, but it's something that you can impart, some of yourself into, that you can interact with and change and be a part of.
I think that sort of separates what is design from great design.
Yeah.
Great design is something that communicates with people, and especially within digital, it's something that you can interact with and hopefully come back and enjoy that experience time and time again. Or sometimes it's such a powerful moment that it has that effect right away. But yeah, good design is what we just kind of see everywhere. It's just kind of just messaging, but not really communication.
So one thing I've been asking, or one other person at this point really, is that
Cranky Pants Ian.
Yeah. So Rich, the next question I wanted to bring up on Downtime at DT. What do you feel is the spirit animal that embodies you, that kind of lives in this ethereal realm that represents Rich Davy, Associate Design Director, Experienced Design Director at DT?
Yeah, don't forget experience.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
I've never been asked this question before.
I feel like you might have been asked this question before. In the previous section that I'm going to edit out. Well, why don't you?
I have no idea.
I'm not going to let you off this one.
I know.
Well, let's look at some qualities of Rich.
Let's
look at some qualities of Rich Davy.
The heat has been turned up in this room.
We've got cranky. We've got passionate. We've got.
Cranky is all just a facade, though. Even though I should not be saying this on this podcast. But the facade is...
You've heard it here first, folks.
Yes. This is
world exclusive.
This is world exclusive. The facade is just a crankiness. It's a survival method that I employ, and it allows people to really, when they really do have a pressing question, to come up and ask me.
Yeah.
And then they get a really good, positive Richard.
So you're like a small yappy dog.
Oh, yappy dog, no. Maybe I'm I'm probably like a little meerkat.
A little meerkat.
They yap.
And you're always kind of like
I'm always looking around.
Yeah, you just want to be loved.
And I retreat to my hole.
Yep. Meerkat.
Meerkat, yeah.
Look. So how do you feel your associate experienced design director skills and opportunities and things that you've learnt would serve you if you were transported back in time to 7th century medieval England?
I guess I would be designing siege weapons or something.
Oh, right. Siege weapons.
Or
maybe like a royal EDM blast.
Royal EDM blast, yes. Something to do with communication, I guess.
But if you think about at that point...
Yeah, what was I doing? Probably my ancestors were just farmers. That's what my ancestors were. I know that. Scotland.
But I think you could take your design...
Battle cry. I'll be the guy who like scream battle cry. I'll be like the...
Berserker.
No, what's the guy out of Braveheart?
So you'd be Braveheart.
No, I'll be the
all
guy
that you've learned.
I'll be like the guy who
associate
be
design experience director stuff.
Screaming.
You would go back. And
I'll be designing the face paint on people. I'll make you like really funny face paint, and then probably have my head chopped off because I did really lewd face paints on people.
So you're going to be the guy that paints the face of the Scottish
Highlanders. Yeah, that's me. Yep.
All right. Good use of your skills, Rich. Good
Yep.
use of your... All right, great.
What's communication?
Look, what excites you about the future of the internet and technology?
I guess I'm really excited about how everything is now starting to come together. So like every kind of like device, even though everyone calls it Internet of Things, I'm not so excited about the actual Internet of Things, but more about how everything's becoming seamless, and that everything is being working off. We have like all these fads that we keep hearing about, big data and Internet of Technology, and iOS or iPhones or Androids, or everyone's competing, but I think everyone's aiming towards like this one big mission at the end, which is everything is quite seamless and everything is integrated together, and that
so it's more in the background and
I think
passively part of our lives.
Yeah, and I think the film Her was quite accurate in terms of how technology will be quite passive in people's lives. Like there was one moment when people walked past billboards and recognized who they were, and the ad changed to who they were.
Yeah. That's quite an interesting thing. I guess we don't have...
I think that's kind of like where I see it within the next 10 years. I don't know what's going to go beyond that, but I think that's what's also exciting about working in this industry, is that we are at the forefront of what's happening and we are instigating a lot of change, whereas I think a lot of other industries are just following what is going on.
Yeah. And
a lot of those industries look to us for inspiration and as thought leaders.
Yep. So on that note of thought leadership, I just want to get your thought leadership on a pressing issue that I've been struggling with.
Right.
So in a fight, who do you feel would win? A small chimpanzee with a knife, or a great white shark that can breathe out of water? If we were to put them in the the MMA octagon to fight each other, who do you think would come out victor? And why?
I think the chimpanzee, because it can bounce around that arena very quickly, even though the shark can just flap around like an idiot. Whereas a chimpanzee with a knife will just jump up and go for the death kill.
All right. So I've got 1-1 so far on the podcast. I think by the time we finish this series of podcasts...
So Ian thought the shark.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
His rationale was that it takes one random hit, chimpanzee's down. But look, it's quite a controversial topic.
Yes.
There isn't. I think we need some more thought leadership.
Yeah, I think we should create
maybe an ongoing dialogue about it in future podcasts.
A scoreboard, some kind of interactive scoreboard outside the interview room.
Yeah.
People can cheer for each side.
Well, how about next Downtime at DT podcast we can...
Downtime. Is there Downtime at DT? No. Not really.
Right, Rich. We're coming to the end of the podcast, so what we're going to do is we're going to just ease you gently into the quickfire round. So, where were you born?
Durban, South Africa.
Nice. Is it a nice place?
No.
All right, not nice.
Mm.
Clients you're currently working on?
Tourism Australia, Newcastle, Are You OK, Macquarie.
Everyone works in Macquarie.
Everyone
I think
works in
that's a
Macquarie.
given, isn't it?
Yeah, default answer.
Two things you like?
Ice cream,
Ice cream.
beer.
Is it some kind of beer ice cream?
No, maybe that should be our next
Maybe.
creative technology idea.
Look, I can get behind that, Rich.
Yeah.
I feel we could embrace that.
Yeah, I had ice cream Bundaberg spiders on New Year's Eve. That was my cocktail. That was glorious.
I just had some kind of a weird Pavlovian drool response when you said that. That was quite amazing.
Yeah.
If you were to oust Tony Abbott as Prime Minister, what would be the first two things that you would change?
Let all asylum seekers in
Mm-hmm.
and change our greenhouse policy.
Good job. Vote 1, Rich Davy.
Mm.
You've got my vote, Rich.
Yes.
Look, I'm pretty happy about that. You came in with quite a cranky demeanour, an air of crankiness around you, but we've kind of peeled back that crankiness and found
It's all a facade.
Yeah, the
Like
rich nougaty centre of Rich Davy, where he's quite lovable and huggable.
Yes, but now I have to put
You
the
have to put it back
cranky
on.
pants face back on as I step out this room.
But as we realise in the world exclusive that it's all a facade and everyone's going to know about it when they hear this podcast, Rich.
If people listen to this podcast, Mikey.
Yeah, if they listen to it. All right, my mum will. She told me it was a good idea.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I like to think that your mum will like me.
Yeah, I reckon she would.
Mums and babies like me.
So Rich Davy, before we end the second episode of Downtime at DT, is there any last words you have for our DT brethren?
2015 is going to kick butt.
Yeah,
It's going to be an awesome year.
I'm with you on that.
I'm pumped about 2015.
Should we do a high five as we end this?
High five!